because they need homosexuality and lesbianism to be normalized so it can be perpetuated, and so that transgenderism can also be forced onto our children. The goal is transgenderism, because if Barack Obama doesn't have to serve the interests of Black people, why does Donald Trump? Why does Joe Biden? That's one of the reasons Joe Biden is so dismissive of Black people. He was Obama's vice president. He was Obama's vice president. So he knows firsthand how effectively Obama ignored Black people with our support. So we are responsible for what is happening to us.
What does abortion have to do with transgenderism? You know what abortion has to do with transgenderism? They both lead to Black genocide. That's why Planned Parenthood is one of the biggest pushers of transgenderism in the Black community. It's genocide, it's extermination, and it's population control.
The transgender agenda, because the main agenda at this point is not homosexuality or lesbianism. That is still a major weapon of mass destruction against our community. But the real goal is transgenderism. And I said this at a lecture at the African American Museum of Philadelphia about 15 years ago. And people thought I was exaggerating, and they thought I was fanatic when I said they will teach homosexuality in the schools. Black people said, you are exaggerating. You are an alarmist. And lo and behold, what did they start doing 5 years ago? Teaching homosexuality in the schools. I also said the goal is not lesbianism, bisexuality, and homosexuality. And the reason those are not the goals, they are strategies, but they're not the main goal. The main goal is childhood transgenderism in the Black community. And why? A homosexual can still reproduce. A lesbian can still reproduce. A homosexual can decide to go back to being a regular man. A lesbian can go back to being a regular female. But when a child forces his parents to allow him or her to undergo sexual reassignment surgery, when they remove the from that boy's scrotum, when they remove the ovaries from that girl's fallopian tubes, they will never be able to reproduce again, even if they decide to reclaim their natural God-given gender identity. You see, so this is genocide. This is sterilization. And I can't believe the Black community has been so brainwashed that they can't see what's really going on. This is not about sexual freedom. That is the mask that genocide is wearing. Transgenderism is the mask that extermination is wearing. Homosexuality and lesbianism is the mask that the global Black population depopulation agenda is wearing. This is why Kamala Harris was in Africa, telling African countries, you got to make your country safe for homosexual marriage, or we're going to cut off your funding. This is why the World Bank and the IMF are in the Caribbean islands, threatening the Caribbean states that if you don't allow gay marriage in your country, we may have to cut your money off. They are threatening all the African and Caribbean and South American and Central American African countries with the withholding of necessary funds and subsidies if you don't make your country safe for gay marriage. Why do they care about gay marriage in another country? Because they need homosexuality and lesbianism to be normalized so it can be perpetuated, and so that transgenderism can also be forced onto our children. The goal is transgenderism, because once that child neuters themselves and sterilizes themselves, they will never be able to reproduce again.
The transgenderism is the underlying goal, you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. You're speaking of President Obama?
Yes, sir.
President Obama was a weapon of mass destruction. And I would say he was a weapon of mass psychological destruction, because he gave Black people, he was a sleeping pill. Barack Obama was a sleeping pill. He lured African people to sleep globally. And in those 8 years while we slept, the American white power structure reorganized, readjusted, and refueled itself. And for the past 8 years, we have been dealing with the aftershock of Obama's presidency. And that aftershock is basically neglect of African people by the US power structure. And why are they able to neglect us so effectively now? Because when we allowed Barack Obama to do nothing for 8 years and still championed him and celebrated him like he was something special or some kind of a solution for Black people, we gave white people, without even realizing it, we gave Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and every other president hereafter the ability to ignore Black people as well. Everybody can ignore Black people now because we allowed Barack Obama to do it. He was the first president in American history who received no type of pushback from Black people for being mistreated. He's the first one. And now that we set that precedent, if Barack Obama doesn't have to serve the interests of Black people, why does Donald Trump? Why does Joe Biden? That's one of the reasons Joe Biden is so dismissive of Black people. He was Obama's vice president. He was Obama's vice president. So he knows firsthand how effectively Obama ignored Black people with our support. So we are responsible for what is happening to us. And if it's up to me, there will never be another Black president again because Black people are too politically immature to hold Black people accountable. We're too politically uneducated to recognize a Black face on white power is still white power.